This episode of the Off Road Podcast is sponsored by PowerTank, Warren Industries, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off Road Podcast, episode 280, Nevada Recap.
Tonight, Aaron runs for the border. Jeremy spends the entire show's yearly budget and then some. And Ben spins some wrenches.
Welcome to the Off Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off road industry. Tonight, I am your co host, Jeremy, and I am here with my co hosts, Aaron and Ben. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Smelly. This Week in Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com and get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for a day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there and get off-roads. Oh, wow, I can't say specific. Kits that meet all your needs. While you're there, use code OFFROADPODCAST, OFFROADPODCAST for 10% off.
Yeah. So we had Skinny Medic on just last week, and I did some shopping. I had to finish up my my IFAC, and I ordered myself some of the compact hyphen chest seals. So my IFAC is now complete. I got to get these shoved in there, and as always, it comes with a Skinny Medic sticker. I got to find something to put these on. Yeah.
A Skinny Medic sticker.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got the Caduceus with that says Skinny
Oh, yeah.
Medic.
Nice.
There we go. Nice. Yeah.
Well, Aaron, let's start with you. What have you been up to?
What I've been up to is going to be today's main topic. So there, nanny, nanny, boo boo. I'm not going to talk on this portion of the episode. How about you, Ben? What have you been up to?
I fixed the 4Runner officially today. I put the new spindle, a new hub, a new brake line, bled it, and I used lots of Loctite and lots of torque wrenching, and everything's all put back together. I worked today. I'm not working Thursday, so I work today instead. I've got oral fun I'm having Wednesday afternoon.
Can you maybe so that we can keep our PG rating, maybe you can tell people what oral fun means?
Oh, I'm going to the dentist and they're going to pull some teeth.
So do some drilling and
cutting and prying and beating the hell out of me. I probably am going to have a very sore mouth after they get done with me.
Yeah. No, that's a good excuse to drink milkshakes and smoothies.
Yep. I'm
just no milkshakes and Red Bull and orange juice.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. That was a bad combination.
Yeah, that was a very bad combination.
Did you figure out if your caliper was sticking or dragging or anything?
No, it looks like it's functioning fine. And what I'm thinking is because when we were coming off the mountain, I was not using my brakes very much. I was just going low and slow, and just low and slow, and I was like four wheel drive low, and I just crawled all the way, like trying not to use my brakes, trying not to like cause myself to spin out. So
yeah,
just trying. So I think that's what it is. We'll see. I'm gonna putz around with it some more. I might bleed the brakes again, just to see if maybe there was some excess bubble somewhere in there. But I don't know. So far, so good. I'm going to drive it home tomorrow. My wife's going to drive up there with me, and we're going to pick it up and drive it home. But now I'm considering, instead of going 35s, going 34s.
What?
Why 34?
Just it's less work. I mean, it's an inch of a difference. What, a half an inch of lift?
Yep.
Yeah.
It would just make less hammering and all that, less work.
You need every inch you can get, though.
Yeah. I know.
You don't get to claim that 35-inch title.
Yeah.
No, I won't be able to claim the 35-inch title. So I'm debating upon whether or not I want to go 34s.
Just
It'll
just
be
figure
a
out
little
which
cheaper.
tire company sells 34 and a halves and label them 35s, and
Well,
Just
go get
so
the title.
pull
so
out the
I was
Sharpie.
looking at Patagonias, and they have a a 295, I think it is.
That's only like a 33 though.
No, theirs is a 34 is what it is. It's like a 290 something. So I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm like almost there. I still got to order another wheel, or another wheel, for my steel wheels. And now I'm like, should I just get beadlocks, like the Dirty Life ones?
Copycat.
I know, copycat indeed. Speaking of copycats, how's it going there, Jeremy? How close are you on the axles?
Oh, I have started buying things, and I think President Trump said it best when he said,
and I'm in the process of spending tremendous amounts of money. So
that explains it to the T. So I've currently I currently purchased the axles. I got the wheels purchased. Let's see, axles, wheels, lift. I got the some Terraflex shocks. What else have I ordered so far? A rear sway bar, the rear Curry anti-lock, and then
Wow, you're going all out. I didn't realize you were getting the anti-rocks.
well, I needed to
Well-
buy end links anyway, and
I
then
need your links. Let's instead of spending $50, let's spend $350.
it was more than $50. Yeah, so there's where I'm at. So it's like so I ordered pretty much everything through that I could through Northridge. I picked up a Metal Cloak lift, so I picked those up through Metal Cloak because they were having their sale. The axles I got ordered today, and Northridge quoted me. They said that Dynatrack is normally about 6 to 8 week lead time. That's the only downside. But so with that, I'm looking at January, somewhere to mid to late January. The axles should probably come in. I'm praying for a Christmas miracle.
So are we going to do are we going to do a protest install party?
No, it's a funeral for my old Smiley axle.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. There you go.
So yeah.
So what do you have left to order then?
It's pretty much just drive shafts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And some beadlock rings.
Do you have tires ordered?
I'm going with my 35s for a while, so I'm gonna end up on 35s. After this is all done, I'll need to do the hydro assist, and then I'm pretty much ready for 40s. I'm not gonna swap out the transfer case now. I'm gonna see if it'll run the 40s, and if I end up breaking the transfer case, then maybe I'll look at an Atlas then. So, but I've heard people running the Ruby Atlas, or sorry, the Ruby transfer case on 40s, but we'll see.
I've heard plenty of people running the Ruby transfer case on 40s too. I think you'll be fine. You might find yourself wanting deeper gears, and that's where the Atlas would come in handy. But
we'll see. So I'm pretty happy with my gearing as it is, and there's kind of a simple calculation to know what gearing you should do, and so they tell you to take your gearing that you have now, multiply it by the size tire that you want to be on, and divide it by the tire size that you came stock. So this is to figure out to get your gearing back to what it was stock essentially. And so if you do that with my 410s and 35s, it says I should be somewhere around a 466. And if I'm on 40s, to get gearing like it is now on 410s on 35s. And so I'm going 513. I decided that I wanted to I was contemplating 538s, and I kind of ran this by John Matthews, and he said, yeah, he didn't see any reason why I wouldn't go 538s based on the RPM calculation. But I've heard a lot of people breaking 538 gears, because as you get taller gears, you're just going to get smaller teeth and your gears are going to get weaker. So I didn't want to be at 538s with my rig on with the Hemi. I thought that was just a little bit too much power for the 538s. I do not want to break a gear set if I don't have to. If it happens, I guess it happens, but it would make the wife very, very mad. So I'm doing everything in my power not to break a gear set. So I went 513s. If I had gone with the Dana 80 rear, which a lot of people would have recommended, but I'm sorry, I'm just don't want to pay that much money. That's like an extra $5K for the set of Dynatrac 80 rear, 60 front. And it was just like, nope, I'm already spending enough money. I'm not going to do that. But that's what a lot of people recommend. But my wheeling style is not a lot of skinny pedals, so I think I'll be fine.
I think so too.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for things to start coming in. Other than that, I got the whole front end disassembled. So I got all the I guess I haven't taken the brakes off, but everything else I took off all 8 control arms because getting new ones with the metal cloak. The axle is disconnected from the frame, obviously because I took off the control arms. All the suspension components are out, so it is just ready and waiting for the new suspension and the new axles to go in. The axle's still sitting underneath the Jeep because it's heavy and I didn't have somebody else to move it with me. So one time
your wife's not going to come up there and help you drag it out?
No, I'm not going to make her. I like that comment from Darwin. Does Northridge offer a receipt for what you told your wife you paid for a small fee? Nope, I don't think they do, but
we should get him on the show and ask him.
Yeah. She's 100%. Do you need an engineer's certificate to be roadworthy, or can you I can do the mods to my Silver 1E6 is asking, going on to 40s, do I need an engineer certificate to be roadworthy, or can I do the mods to my delight where I live? So as far as I'm aware, in Washington, there's nothing like that. You can just do whatever you want and go straight to 40s.
I think Silver is from Australia, so I'm guessing that's where that question comes from.
Probably. Yeah. No, we don't have inspections in Washington state, so I can pretty much just do whatever I want. I wonder if they would let me stamp my own vehicle since I am an engineer, just not a car engineer. But yeah, my wife knows everything that I'm spending. I was really upfront with her because I didn't want to have the fight in the long term after the bills came in. But yeah, so it's moving. It's progressing. I'm probably going to be on. So we ended up not saving up all the money. Obviously, we had all the money already saved up, but it wasn't saved specifically for this project. So we're going to spend some money we had in a liquid form just sitting elsewhere, waiting for something to do with it. And so we're going to I need to save all the money back to Square before I start saving for the 40s. So I'll probably be on the 35s for about a year, and then hopefully by this time next year I'll be looking at 40s.
One way you can make some more money is to sell your 35s to Ben.
There you go. Just convert your axle to 5-on-5, and I'll sell you my wheels too. They're not beadlocks, but hey.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah,
they'd look good on your rig.
Yeah. Oh, so I told my wife that I got the bronze wheels. Some places they list them as satin gold or something, but they kind of look more bronze to me, at least in the pictures I've seen. And my wife apparently wasn't very happy about that. She
really
thought I should have gone to her before doing a styling choice. Yeah, she said they look like you're trying too hard, but I think they're going to look great with that red.
They will.
I don't.
Bronze is a popular wheel color right now. Like
yeah,
right now, your big three are bronze, black, and chrome.
Yeah,
and then you're starting to see more of the gunmetal gray.
Yeah,
it is.
I never really cared for black wheels, but I also didn't care for chrome wheels. I like black better than chrome wheels.
Yeah,
but I was happy they had the bronze because I thought it's like a choice that isn't too flashy, but it's different. And Silver wants to know if it's a 2-inch suspension or 2-inch body lift and That's what he can do. So he can do 2 inches of suspension, 2 inches of body lift, and 2-inch tires over stock. Yeah, we can pretty much just go however high we want. So I'm going 5.5-inch lift, and then the 40s eventually. It's gonna look funny when it's on 35s with the 5.5-inch lift though.
Well, you just have
Oh,
to
well.
explain it's in stages.
Yeah. I mean,
It looks funny because you're keeping your marriage.
yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm thinking about just pulling out all the bump stops, but I was kind of trying to look at the travel of the shock, and I think I might be limited by the shock. I won't be able to stuff the whole tire up all the way when I'm on 35s. I was thinking, man, that would be awesome if you could get all of that travel. But we'll see.
Well, you'll still want the bump stops then, just to protect the shocks from
Well,
sliding
yeah,
into themselves.
totally.
Otherwise, you'll end up like that Jeep truck.
Yeah. So no, I'm definitely going to make the bump stop be the first thing that hits, because you're not supposed to use your shocks as a bump stop. You can use your shocks as a limiting strap for the most part, but for most people,
Still don't want to do that.
no.
Yeah,
Well,
Shocks like me.
you don't want to go and air out your vehicle and have your suspension just drop at full send. But it should be okay. And I guess I'll but based on how much money I've spent at Northridge, I think I'm gonna win that JT giveaway. I don't really think so, but man, I am doing everything I can to improve my odds, aren't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are.
except maybe I'm gonna win it.
Oh,
Or
are
at
you?
least they're
Have
gonna
you?
deliver it to my, or at least they're gonna deliver it to my house.
No, they're gonna call me. I won't have them deliver it down there. Although I
That's
should
an
have them
inside joke.
deliver it. I should have them deliver it down there to you. You register it and then gift it to me.
There we go.
That's what should happen to keep, so I
There you
didn't have to pay taxes,
Yeah.
except for federal taxes. But hey, can't win them all, can you?
Can't win them all.
Try.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
Well, tonight we have a little bit of listener feedback. This one came in to one of our YouTube videos while we were talking about prepping vehicles for the apocalypse, I think is when this one showed up. And he says general maintenance is important to prevent huge out-of-pocket problems. And he says he subscribed also, which we appreciate. That was from Jacked to Jeep. So if you hear your name out here, send us an email. We'll shoot you a sticker. We love having people write into us.
Yep.
And it's very true. And that's kind of what we were talking about, is general maintenance is important because it
Yeah.
prevents bad things from costing you money.
Like retorquing your stuff,
Or
Easy, like somebody we know.
Loctite.
Loctite, yeah, Loctite. Maybe weld it just in case.
No, don't do that.
A little JB weld too.
No, don't do that either.
I
I think we need to revisit part of our Christmas gift episode, and we need to get Ben a paint pen.
Paint pen and a ready welder.
No welder. We don't want you welding things. That sounds like a bad idea.
What, me?
Well, you're like talking about welding bolts in all over the place,
Yeah, I'm going to permanently secure them in place.
which sounds
Yep.
great when you. It sounds great before you have to take it back off,
You just do a little tack, just a
and
little.
then you'll be like, guys, I got to buy new lower control arms because I accidentally cut through it. You'll be like,
Oh.
how the heck did you do that, Ben?
I gotta say, cutting off the socket today, what a pain in the butt. The one that was welded in place to hold it. I had to use a cutoff tool and just like kind of slowly cut through it. I should have took pictures of it. It's sitting at work. I will later.
And that's why you don't weld things, even if
Well-
it sounds like a good idea at the time.
That was the best idea at the time.
Well, okay, yeah. I'll relent to that. Although maybe the better idea would have just been to have make sure they were torqued the first time.
Yes. 12 Ugga-Duggas.
You do have a torque wrench, right?
I do.
Do you use it?
I do.
Would you
My
tell
boss sat there and watched me retorque every bolt on my front end while I was there. So yes.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to come bail you out again.
No, he doesn't. That was exactly his words. I do not want to tow your hunk of junk off of a mountain again, Ben.
Yeah. I mean, when we do this this funeral for my axle, I'm going to be the one putting the torque wrench on everything, especially anything Ben's touching.
Damn straight, you better.
Yeah. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen? So we'd also like to give a shout out to Patriot Patch Company. Go check out their great selection of patches and join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 a month and receive a patch and a matching sticker every single month. I haven't seen the one for December. Have any of you guys? I was just scrolling through the patch swap group to see if he dropped it.
He announced it. I got an email over the weekend. It is say hello to my little helper.
Oh.
Yeah, and did you guys get in on the Apocalypse limited run patch?
No,
I don't think Jeremy did.
Spending money elsewhere.
Version 2?
I didn't. No.
I did.
I did too. Yeah. So I'm excited for that one to show up, and I believe it has shipped already. So I should have that.
Yeah,
one
I got
any day now.
notification of that too. Could be in my mailbox if I go look. Probably not.
I just wanted to touch on Rick's comment that Ben's using a torque wrench from Harbor Freight.
No, I'm not. Husky brand.
Well, it's our stronger than Loctite. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Darwin. But we're trying to avoid Ben having to weld his rig together.
Yeah, especially at the rate I bend those spindles, that would be too much of a pain in the rear to get that off. If I bent it again, I need to just gusset it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when 35s come.
I'm gonna have to gusset it for 35s sooner or later.
Are your skid plates welded up yet?
No.
The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Well, this first news article that we have here today is GM has started to deliver their infantry squad vehicle to the U.S. military. So if you guys will remember, we talked about this 4 or 5 months ago. I can't remember exactly when we talked about it, but they were kind of in competition for it, I believe, the last time we talked about it. Is that right, Aaron?
Yeah. Yep.
So this was just one of the
winner hadn't been chosen yet.
Yeah. So it was actually probably closer to 8 months ago, based on knowing contracting timelines. But so they started to deliver their first one. It's pretty impressive. They delivered their first delivery. They gave the U.S. Army their first delivery only 120 days after the contract was awarded, which is pretty dang fast. I'm surprised it moved that fast.
Well, all they did was take a Sawzall to a factory truck and weld a roll cage on the outside. I mean, these things look like they are built by somebody who does the Gambler 500.
They do, yes. So they are based on the Colorado ZR2. It is 90% commercial parts, which is pretty high number of commercial parts there. They're very light and small. So that part of the criteria was it had to hang underneath a Black Hawk helicopter and fit inside of a Chinook. And they're eventually going to deliver 649 of these bad boys.
I think I said it when
I can't
talked about. Say that again, Ben.
I said I can't wait till they come on the civilian market. That'll be fun.
That's what I was going to say was when we first talked about this, when they were trying to award a contract to somebody, I mentioned that I couldn't wait for them to show up in military surplus, because it looks like it would be something fun that you take people on tours in Moab, because they have extra seats that you can strap people into, and you could just be like a guide service with these rigs.
And the fact that they're 90% commercial parts makes it easy to get replacements.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, sticking along with that military theme here for our news, Kia is going to start building their own military truck, and they say it's going to be Hummer-like. And the rendering, all there is a picture, a rendering. It looks really Hummer-esque, but I feel like most infantry type vehicles are going to look, they're all going to have that boxy shape, that ruggedized look, open air kind of concept kind of thing. So maybe it's not a Hummer look, maybe it's just a military look. I don't know.
It honestly looks like you took the Chevy version and just made it a Hummer version.
Yeah.
And then slap Kia on it.
Yeah. Also,
Yep.
check out that ground clearance. It is tiny. So like the bottom of the body hangs down to right about where the rim meets the rubber tire. It's like halfway down from the center of the axle.
Well, the tire's being stuffed up. It's driving up over a ledge. The passenger side's tucked down. I think it's just in process of articulation.
I guess. Although that rear tire, if you look at the rear tire, it's only at the center of the axle.
Mm-hmm. You think it should be higher?
I think it should be higher. Although
maybe
this
maybe it has everything tucked. Maybe it has everything tucked up underneath it though, like the Hummer also. So it provides more than enough ground clearance.
Yeah, I'd still think you'd get hung up on that body, on those body panels. And
I'd have to look at a Hummer to a Humvee to see what it looks like.
It's a good thing you know somebody with one.
Or
also there's
Google Images. So looking at Google Images for the H1 Hummer, it looks like the very bottom of the body is right at the center line of the axle as well.
Right. So if that rear tire is at full droop, or it's drooped at all.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, like I said, surrendering. They're saying it's an open top all-terrain vehicle. And apparently it's based on the Mojave frame, and why that doesn't ring a bell is because we don't get the Kia Mojave here in the United States. And the Mojave is based off of the Borigo, I think is how you pronounce it, which is it was a body on frame SUV that Kia sold like in the late 2000 aughts, like 09 and 08 or something like that. And they only sold them for 2 years. They didn't sell very good, apparently. I think they were a 7-passenger body on frame SUV. So, but what's cool about what they're doing here is that they're using, they say anyways, that they're using lessons that they've learned from designing and developing this, and they're going to use those to improve the durability of civilian models. So look out, they're going to have a off-road Kia Soul or something coming up probably.
Ooh, with hamsters included.
Yeah.
Well, they already did that where they ran it up Hell's Revenge.
Yeah, what was that? That was a
Escalator.
the Sorrento.
Yeah, the Sorrento. Yep.
Yeah.
Another cool thing is that they say they're going to sell this, or a variant of this, in industrial and leisure sectors. I assume leisure sector is just public people who want to drive it for fun out in the woods. So might be cool. We'll see what they come up with that. And supposed to be ready in 2021. They're working on them now. They're building them now, and they should be coming out next year. And then the last thing this article mentions is that not related to this truck chassis wise, but they're developing 2.5 and 5 ton trucks. So that's like the LMTVs. They're making some big boy trucks too. So it'll be kind of fun to see what Kia comes up with that.
I wonder who supplies currently the Korean South Korean army with their vehicles? Like, do they use old Humvees or
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It might be why Kia's making that move.
Could be. I'm sure it is.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
So this week we're talking about Ben and his adventures, right?
No,
I,
not
I
everything's
thought,
about
I thought
you,
we
Ben.
did that a couple weeks ago. But it was Ben's misadventures.
Ah, the misadventures of Ben. There we go.
You know, when you have a successful adventure, we'll talk about it. But if you have an unsuccessful adventure, we're gonna just not talk about it on the show anymore.
That's a good
No.
idea.
I think it provides really good content.
No, it does. I'm just giving him incentive to not break his vehicle for once.
I see.
You know,
Um,
no wheel November's a thing in my household now.
So that's when we should plan all the best trips.
Oh, screw you
Yeah.
guys. Wife's talking more Moab. I'm kind of excited.
You know, I might be able to
Yeah.
make that into a trip now.
Yeah, where she's talking May though. We
Oh,
waiting for the
May.
kids to finish school. So then we don't have to worry about schooling stuff.
Who are you going with then?
I had no clue.
Well, I mentioned back in October, I went down to Nevada, and we've been holding off on talking about how my trip went because I went back to Nevada again this week, or I should say last week. I guess it's Monday today. So last week I went back to Nevada for Thanksgiving. So figured we just have a Nevada recap. So it's like an echo.
Echo.
Yep, Echo, Nevada. So when I went back in October, it was just me and a buddy, one of my local friends here. He drives I think it's an 18. It's a current gen Tacoma, and he's got it tricked out pretty good. I think he's on 35s. I can't really remember, but definitely set up really well. He and I left Sunday morning, and it was a 4-day trip. So we left Sunday morning, and we just boogied it all the way down to Nevada. We only stopped for fuel and gas station food. And our first stop was a reservoir that we drove past, but didn't get to spend any time at when we were there in August with Ben and some of the other listeners.
Was this the reservoir where you just blasted through while we were trying to take pictures?
Yeah. It was that reservoir. So it's called Knott Creek Reservoir. If you want to look it up, there's a cool camp spot tucked up in the nook of the mountains off to the east of the reservoir. And so we camped there that night. But on the way out there, we had to go through a ranch. The BLM land road drives right through this guy's ranch, and I've been through his ranch a couple times before. And when we were just closing the gate on the other side of his ranch on our way through it, he came driving up, and he was pretty hot that we were quote unquote trespassing on his property. And apparently someone earlier in the day had done the same thing and had a shouting match with his wife and called his wife a bunch of dirty names. So she was pretty upset, and so that made him extra upset, and so he kind of took it out on us. And I said, hey, I thought it was all good. It's a public road. We're not trying to be rude or anything. We're closing gates and all this stuff. And he didn't care. He just wanted off his property. He made us go back out the gate and leave. And he told us how to get to where we were going. And what was strange is that none of the map software or paper maps I have showed the route that he told me about. So I got on Gaia and was using the satellite imagery, and I was able to see the road, but it didn't show it as an actual road. So kind of weird that it doesn't exist as a road, but it is a road, and it's actually the main road. So it's really strange. So had I
Is
known that road was there, I would have never gone through his property.
is this the one that by the airport spot when
Yeah.
you're coming off?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, he was pretty upset with us. But we worked through it. I tried to talk him off the ledge, and he wasn't as upset as we were leaving, but he was pretty hot in the beginning. So um, it happens. You can only do so much, and you might come across that. So he's just upset that people keep coming on his land, and I get it.
It
So
sounds like he needs to put some signs up so that to help people know where the road is.
So later on, a sign did get put up, and there was one sign, but it wasn't very clear. So, but as I found out on my trip this past weekend, I found more signs that I don't think were there a month ago. So
Oh, good. Good for him.
yeah, yep. So we rolled into camp after dark, and it was just beautiful. There was not a cloud in the sky. The stars were out, um, and it was cold. So we were at pretty high elevation. I think we're right around 6,000 feet of elevation, right next to this lake. And when we went to bed, it was 26 degrees, and when we got up in the morning, it was 18 degrees out. Um, and that was I did something different when I was camping. Instead of bringing my barbecue tank for my propane heater, I just brought some of those green cans just to take less space, I guess, is what my thought pattern. And I've never used those before with my Mr. Buddy, and it turns out that it chews through those pretty fast. And in the middle of the night, the heater went out in my tent, and I froze my butt off. It was cold. My
Yeah, those things don't last long.
No, yeah, they only last for like 4 hours on low, which I didn't realize. So next time I'll be bringing the barbecue tank, um, so it can last all night. Um, my Nalgene froze, and it was in the tent next to me, full of water. So
Oh, wow.
that's how cold it got. Yeah,
Are you using a sleeping bag in your tent, or are you using blankets?
I use a sleeping bag, and I think it's like a 20-degree sleeping bag, and then on top of it, I have a like a wool army blanket, and then um, on where my feet are, I put my really nice puffy down jacket to cover my feet, and then I'm wearing long johns and everything to bed, and a hood, a stocking cap, but it just wasn't enough. It was so cold. So yeah, it was a cold night. So that was day one. That was the drive down. Day two was a really short one, leaving the Knott Creek Reservoir and heading to where we were going for our second night was only 15 miles at the most. I think it was less than that. Um, and on our way to our campsite for the next night, we ran into a Forest Service crew who was out working on the BLM land, and they were fixing the road up to these lakes that we were headed to. And that, Ben, you drove on that road up to the lakes where we went skinny dipping, and I don't know if you remember, but there was like boulders sunken into the dirt there, and so you had to wheel your
Yeah.
way up to this camp
Yeah,
uphill the whole way.
that made it real fun.
It sure did, yeah. Well, the Forest Service was fixing it, and I kind of grumbled. I was like, "Oh, that's a bummer. I really like having to wheel to this place, and I was looking forward to showing my buddy this fun wheeling trail. It's only a couple miles long, but still, it's some fun to do." And they told me that they stocked that lake with fish, and the fish truck couldn't get up there, and the honey bucket truck couldn't get up there to empty out the porta potty up there. So I guess not a porta potty, but pit toilet. And so they said if the road doesn't get fixed, they either have to rip out all the camp stuff, take the porta potty out, and decommission the road, or they have to fix the road. And I said, well, I guess fix the road then. And I'd hate to lose that campsite. But
Well,
now
it would probably only
Honda
take a
Civic
year
could get
or
up
two.
there.
Well, and I imagine it would only take a couple years of harsh weather to beat on that road to get it back where it was.
Yeah, possibly, but they pulled out. They had big excavators and stuff. They pulled out all those boulders that were sunk down into the dirt. So
Oh, those bastards.
those those won't regrow at any point.
No, they're not
Um,
like Washington where rocks just grow.
yeah, that was a good night. Oh, and so we actually stopped and we were talking with those Forest Service worker guys for like 2.5 hours, just chatting with them and just talking politics and guns and off-road rigs and stuff like that. So, and we confirmed our route for the next day with them, and they said, "Yeah, I wouldn't take my truck through that area." So we knew it was the good way to go. Yeah. So it was another cold night, but it was actually warmer than the previous night, surprisingly, and it was over 7,000 feet in elevation at that place. So, um, yeah. So we woke up the next morning, and our plan was to get to come back into Oregon and stay at Willow Hot Springs. And Willow Hot Springs is um, basically east of Fields, Oregon. For all of our overlanders that are listening, um, you guys know where Fields, Oregon is. Um, and on this road, it was kind of a gnarly road, which was super fun. But the best part about the road was it just kind of winded around the side of this mountain, and you just had these amazing vistas because there was just canyons and hills and side hills that you were on, and you could just see for miles in some of the spots, and it was beautiful. And my friend was using I don't remember what mapping software he was using, but he had a whole bunch of mines listed on his software. So we tried to get to some of them, and we got to one of them, and it was really cool. There was a whole bunch of buildings there. Um, Twin piston steam engine was there, and they used that to power this piston pulverizer. So for this mine, it's an open face mine. They dig out of the side of a hill, and they take this quartz down and they just smash it with these pistons, and then they, after it's smashed into a powder, they put it on what's those tables that they float the gold and stuff on.
A quartz table, like a marble table.
No,
No,
he's talking about
like
it's
a
like a shaker
sluice,
table or
thing.
yeah.
Uh, I can't think of the word, but anyways, yeah, it was cool seeing that, and um,
Was this an
Yeah.
still
So
active mine?
nope, it wasn't active. There was lots of rubbish and stuff around, and you could just see all these parts and pieces, and you put them together in your head on how this part worked and how they got the gold down and what they used the pistons for and how they transferred the energy from the pistons to the site where the steam pistons were. And it was it was really neat. There someone built like a concrete table that they were I think they were melting the gold down um, at at that spot. So yeah, it was really cool. And then so from there we um, finished driving through those mountains, and we cut up into, oh, actually we stopped for lunch at Denio Junction, which was a good lunch stop. And then we got into Oregon and finished um, finished our evening at the Willow Hot Springs. So that was the campgrounds that we were at. And Willow Hot Springs is a cool hot springs. It's just this pool, and then it's got this rock wall, and on the other side of the rock wall is like a warm springs side. So you could either be in the hot springs or the warm springs. But because it was below freezing outside, we stayed in just the hot springs the whole time, and we spent 2.5 hours in those hot springs. It was really,
Were they actually hot?
it was hot. Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, it wasn't like the warm springs that you and I went into in Virgin Valley a while back. Um, but there was some random people that were in the hot springs with us. Some came and some went. and it was cool. Oh, so I've got my brother-in-law here just joining us. This is my brother-in-law Jerry, and he came on the. Say hi, Jerry.
Hey, fellas.
Hi, Jerry.
Can you hear him all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, cool, good. So he came on the next trip we're going to talk about. I'm just finishing up talking about the October trip. So yeah, so we were in the hot springs at Willow Creek. Some of the people that showed up were from Winnemucca. They worked in gold mines there, and so that was kind of fun. Hearing about how they mine gold with big equipment and stuff like that. So it was a good night there, and it only got warmer every night we were there. It only got warmer, so it was not too cold the next morning when we got up to head home. We popped through Fields. I couldn't not stop at Fields and get a milkshake there. We hit a new place that I'd never been to in the town of Hines. It was called Boomers. Stopped there for lunch and had an amazing burger there. And then we hit CBT on the way through Bend. And that's where I got to see their new Mount Fury tent that they were talking about. And then
Was Boomers the church?
yes.
Okay, that's where Eric and I stopped on our way back from the Nevada trip. Really good.
Oh,
burgers.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That's cool. That's cool that you guys got to stop there. Yeah, really good food. And then the last part of our trip took us through some towns where the forest fires just ravaged Oregon this summer. Detroit and Mill City and the town of Lyons, and it was pretty sad driving through those towns and seeing all the destruction of the forest fires. One of those towns, my guesstimate, this is totally unofficial, but one of my guesstimates for one of the towns is that 80% of the town was just burned, just gone, all the buildings. So
That's rough.
pretty sad. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. We got to see some wild horses on our trip, which was cool. Always love to see that. And donkeys. Saw a dead cow at Knott Creek Reservoir, just completely. I mean, all that was left was a skeleton and the hide around it. That was kind of crazy. So, other than that, it was a good trip. So, trip 2, back to Nevada. I don't have enough, so I got to keep going back. So trip 2 was for Thanksgiving. We went Thursday through Sunday. My brother-in-law Jerry came on that one. Jerry hasn't done any overlanding kind of stuff like we do, and it was fun to introduce his family. So he's married to my sister. They've got 4 kids. 3 of them came, and my whole family came, and then his aunt and her husband and their 2 kids came. So we had 3 families were rolling in 3 rigs, and we got to go see a bunch of cool stuff. So we started same kind of thing, full day trip on the road. We left early in the morning, and basically we just drove straight to the hotel. This time we weren't camping. We went to the Denio Junction Motel. Jerry, what were your thoughts on this motel? Did you have any preconceived notions about this motel we were going to stay at?
It was kind of pitched to us that we were going camping inside. That was kind of my beginning thoughts about it, but it delivered. I mean, I thought it was every bit of camping inside.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I was bummed about for the hotel was that there wasn't like a table that we could sit down around. So the rooms they had a full bathroom, and then they basically had 2 different beds and a mini fridge and a microwave.
yeah, there wasn't that I think I missed too, is that we couldn't all hang out together.
Yeah.
There's no place to do that. But we wanted to sleep inside. It was cold, and tenting would have been hard for most of our families. We're not quite geared out as much as you guys are, so
Yeah.
little Coleman tents would have not held up in the kind of cold we were in.
No, and there was a constant wind there the entire trip. There was a constant wind, so that would have made tent camping, even if it wasn't that cold, it would have made it a little rough.
True. And for a first timer, I'd say then you got to get out on these road trips with a hotel.
Yeah.
Just take to your destination, get inside, enjoy a good night's sleep.
And
That's good.
and some overlanders do that. They don't they don't necessarily camp. They go stay at places, bed and breakfast and Airbnbs and stuff like that. And it actually, that motel was a highlight of our trip, not necessarily the building, but the people that ran it. That was a lot of fun.
Totally agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So so day one was driving to Denio Junction, staying at the motel, and that was on Thanksgiving Day. So this was a really cool thing. When we made our reservations, they told us that that Thanksgiving dinner was going to be happening at Denio Junction, and it was only going to be for locals and for people staying at the hotel. I keep calling it a hotel. It's a motel. Don't get any
motel.
wild ideas. It's definitely a motel. We're unloading our bags and we're up on the second floor of this 6-room motel, and like this amazing smell is coming through the air. And I didn't know what they were cooking. I thought it was hamburgers on the grill. But it smelled awesome. And it was a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. And after everybody was almost done eating, they're like, okay, the brisket's done. And they carry in this big pan and it's got all this sliced brisket on it. And
so good. That was a highlight.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
Brisket's always a highlight.
Yep. They didn't have enough rolls for everybody. And my son, sometimes he has no shame in saying stuff to people. And I guess he takes after his dad. He's talking to the gal who's serving us and he's like, I didn't get a roll. I'm like, it's okay, Thomas, don't worry. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're out of them. And he's like, yeah, I just didn't get one. And she's like, well, would you like some bread? She brought out 4 slices of white bread. He was super excited. He got some white bread. So
from the homemade rolls and brisket to just some
white bread was good enough. It didn't really matter. He just needed some bread. So, and then what did we do after we had dinner?
Yeah, we went out to Bog Hot. We went out for a night mission.
Yeah.
Turned the headlights on, off-road, out to Bog Hot.
Yeah.
It's about as off-road as I get.
That was cool. So when Ben was with us, we went to Bog Hot Springs, and Ben went in the hot springs there. Actually, in August, Ben went in those hot springs, and he was one of the few people that went in up to his head, over his. I think did you put your head in underwater, Ben?
Was that the one where it was super really, really hot?
Scalding,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the one where I went head deep.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was absolutely
scalding.
Perfect this time. I don't know if it's because the air temperature was way lower or if the hot springs has like hot and cold cycles where it goes up and down, but it was the perfect temperature. I was so excited.
A lot of it has to do with the air temperature helping cool it down.
Yeah. We got in the exact same spot. It was a great end to a long road trip day and all the travel, and getting to show that to my family. This first highlight of our trip was a lot of fun. So we got out of the hot springs.
Guys take you to get there?
9 hours. We were on the road for 9 hours.
No, I meant from the hotel or the motel to the hot springs.
I think 12 minutes.
Oh wow, that is close. I didn't
Super
realize
close.
it was that close to where.
What was really funny was that the motel staff they're super courteous and like, hey, here's a printout of all the hot springs in the area, and they give us like 4 or 5 sheets of paper, and I'm flipping through them while we're eating dinner, and I noticed that like certain hot springs aren't on the list, and I don't say anything to them, but apparently my sister did.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there, and she was talking to him, and she's like, yeah, we're going to Hot Springs tonight. And the gal asked, oh, which one? And she said, the ones you didn't put on the list.
The locals one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She said the local one you didn't put on the list. And she's like, what do you mean? And she later said that for some reason, either she didn't get all the pages stapled together or she didn't print a couple of pages, but she apologized and said she wouldn't leave them off on purpose. So it's just kind of funny that the local hot spring didn't get added to the list of hot springs, the closest one.
I have to think that might not have been 100% accidental.
Maybe.
Considering they had also just been there that afternoon. They're like, oh, you went to that one? We were just there this afternoon.
Yeah.
So I think it's their private hot spring.
It could be. Yep. And when we got out of the hot springs and we're ready to head home, it was 17 degrees outside. It was cold, but we were in the hot springs for half an hour. So my body temperature, my core temperature totally got warmed up. I was standing outside drying off. It wasn't a big deal at all. I didn't feel like it was a big deal. So it worked out good. So day 2, so we were going to basically have 2 full days for activities, roaming around kind of thing. So day 2 was the first of those days, and we called it our Oregon day. So day 2 we drove up to the Alvord Desert, and this was super neat. They've not seen the Alvord dry lake, the playa out there, and we get there, and I wasn't expecting to be able to drive out on it at all because it's wintertime, right? Ask George. You don't drive on the playa in the winter. It was frozen, obviously, because it's so cold outside, and there was maybe like a half inch to a full inch of snow on the playa.
It's white.
It was just beautiful. It's just this. At first, I thought it was like, well, how come the mud is so bright? Maybe the sun is shining off of it. But we drove down the little path there, and yeah, there's just a little layer of snow. So we walked out on it and goofed around on it, and the kids ran around and played. And Jerry got up the nerve to go drive on it.
Well, that was after the Ford Focus with the little tiny trailer went out. So I was like, well, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, I'm definitely not going out. I didn't mention. So on this trip, I took the minivan. Nothing from the peanut gallery there for me driving the minivan on the overland trip.
I'm waiting to
I
see what
figured
comes up
you'd
in the
burn
comments.
yourself.
Waiting for you to burn yourself.
So I drove the minivan for a few reasons. The biggest reason was it has winter tires on it. My Nissan's got mud tires. They just don't do good in the snow. We definitely had to go over several passes each way to get to where we're going, and I didn't want to have to chain up. I didn't want to have to deal with that. And you just never know what the passes might do. So that was the main reason. The other reason, I've got my whole family with me, and it's super comfortable. I got almost double the fuel economy. I got over 25 miles a gallon with the minivan. And then all the places I had on the list, they just didn't require 4-wheel drive. So it wasn't too big of a hit to not take it on.
Yeah, but I feel like I got ripped off. My first overland adventure is guided by a Honda Pilot or Honda Odyssey.
Honda Odyssey, yeah.
I think that's kind of like, I mean, I paid big money for this private guided overland tour, and the guy in front of me is driving a Honda.
Yeah, I drove it like a 4-wheel drive truck, though.
True. Your wife said, "Get off this road and get back."
Yeah, she wasn't. She wasn't very excited doing 65 miles an hour on dirt roads and gravel roads in the minivan, but it handled them like no problem. I wasn't the one who blew a tire on the trip.
True, me neither.
Yeah, he didn't blow one either. But the third rig in our convoy did blow a tire.
The Xterra let one go.
Yeah, she let one go for sure. That was a bad blowout. So yeah, so we goofed around on the desert. Jerry got a chance to drive out there. And did you get your traction control turned off?
Yeah, I did. I figured it out now.
Yeah.
You gotta hold the button in to get out of the. You push it once, you get out of the primary, but then there's also like a braking assist and straightening traction control, and you have to hold it down to get out of that.
I see. So you don't just push it; you have to like press and hold.
One time will save you a little, and then holding in will get you free.
Gotcha.
I didn't do that.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize that feature was not all the way unengaged.
So we should mention Jerry had a week old. What are you driving?
I'm driving the 5th gen Toyota 4Runner.
Yeah, T4R. I'm teaching him the lingo. A T4R.
Yeah, it's my wife's pavement princess.
Yeah, it is.
So
it is a little bit of
kind of
pavement
hunk of junk like
princess.
mine.
What's that?
It's brand new. It had.
We left at 450 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's fresh.
Yeah. Fresh. We put about 1,000 miles on this
We
trip.
did. We came home at just under 1,500.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
doubled the mileage on this trip.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great break in
Oh,
for our
triple
family. It was a lot
mileage.
of fun. It was good to get out there. The playa was cool.
Yeah. So he went on the playa and he didn't have his traction control turned off all the way, and it intervened. So he didn't get to have as much fun as he wanted, which
It
is
just
a
kept
bummer.
trying to save my life over and over.
Yeah.
I hate it when vehicles think it knows better than you.
Yeah, I know, right? So we left the Alvord Desert and we went to Fields. I'm like, hey, you guys, you got to have these milkshakes. We're going to Fields. I had taken Jerry's son on one of my first overlanding trips ever. It was the first trip I ever took my rooftop tent on, and we stopped in Fields, and his son told him all about the milkshakes, and so we had to stop there for milkshakes. And while we were there in Fields having lunch, there was some like weird motorcycle guys with old I don't maybe janky's not the right word, but they were a little janky. These
Collector editions.
maybe collectors, yeah. They look like they were like 1970s. Like if you had a Harley in the 70s and you modified it to be a cool Harley, that's what this would look like to me. And then it sat in a barn for 50 years and now you're driving it again. That's kind of what these bikes were. And they're filming a movie. They weren't just like out there with their iPhones and stuff. They had some legit camera gear. It's totally an indie film from the looks of it, but they had legit camera gear and they're filming something out there in front of the Field station. So movie's called The Passenger. I tried to do some Googling on it tonight. I couldn't come up with any information on it, and we'll figure it out. We left Fields, went to Willow Hot Springs. That was going to be the hot springs we goofed off in that day. And that was the road where we blew the tire on the Xterra.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize how long it was on a trip out to Willow and back, but longer than I remembered. But I forgot to put in the show notes here. We stopped at a abandoned house.
Oh yeah, sure.
That was really cool. Everybody got to check out this house. I'm guessing I'm probably 100-year-old house or so.
Homestead,
Had some
yeah.
updated art stuff to it. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say architecture, but updated stuff to it. But it was fun. Everybody getting to check it out, walk up these super narrow stairs and stuff. And then we headed out to Willow Hot Springs, and we got there. What did we find in the hot springs?
Ooh, you mean
Dead
the
body.
overcrowded, naked hot springs.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that wasn't appropriate for our children. We had to go.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
Rick-
We didn't get to hang out at the hot springs. It was full of nakies, bunch of naked people. So, yeah. So we were only there for a few minutes. Tried not to do any gawking, and tried.
Apparently, everyone in my car saw the ladies.
Yeah, they saw the ladies.
Yeah, all of them talked about them, except my wife. She missed it.
She missed it. She saw nothing.
Yeah, she saw nothing.
What was funny was that it was like 2 ladies and like 6 guys, or maybe 7 guys in the hot tub. It was a very unequal ratio, in my opinion, for hot springs and nakedness.
I think it always is.
Probably, yeah. So we boogied out of Willow, and we're like, you know what? Let's go to Bog. It's only 15 minutes beyond where we go back to stay anyway. So we boogied out to Bog, and we goofed off there. By the time we got there, it was after dark, or just getting dark. And this time we built a campfire.
Yeah, that was nice.
Not a big one, but a campfire so we could warm up. Jerry was my wood hauler for the trip, so I didn't have to fill the minivan full of wood like I would normally fill my truck full of wood. And I kept it really moderate. I was not nearly the amount of wood I would normally bring on a
So
camp
there's
trip.
only 1 quart of wood with you?
Just about.
But I will say that's a pro tip for guys who aren't hot springing all the time, to build a fire before you get in.
If it's cold outside.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
was nice. You just come out, you got a nice hot fire to dry out on, and
Yeah.
but unlike the previous night where we were totally in the dark and the wind was blowing and you're trying to get dressed and get back in your car, and
Yeah.
it's freezing.
Pro tip. So yep, we did Bog Hot Springs for hour and a half or so. I'd say hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then we went back to Denio Junction. We had dinner there. So second night in a row we had dinner. This time we kind of got to mingle with the owners a little bit more, and it was a good time talking to them about the area and the people. And I told them about my experience with the landowner who kicked me off his property. And she's like, "Oh, that's Buck. Man, he's a great guy. Honestly, if he showed up right now, he'd probably buy everybody here drinks." And so I said, well, I hope he shows up. I'd love to talk to him. And I got nothing against the guy. I just love to talk to him. And she told me some backstories about since COVID hit. And we all know this as off-roaders, that there's more people out camping and doing stuff because they can't fly to Hawaii and
Right.
go on trips like that. So they're people are buying campers and off-road rigs and
Fifth gen
getting out into the
Forerunners
woods. Fifth gens, yep. So
And they don't know about treading lightly or closing gates behind you. And
correct.
especially I'd imagine, especially with like in your more rural areas with cattle ranches and all that, leaving a gate open could really cost a guy a lot of money. I would
Certainly.
understand why Buck would get upset with people
Yep.
trespassing.
Yeah. So it was really good to hear the locals talk and to hear their stories and how they grew up and what they did. So day 3 we get up, and it's going to be our Nevada day of exploring. And on the way out, I talked to husband and wife, I assume, and they're in a JK, and they're out there. I think they were on 37s. I don't think they were 35s. And they just go out there and they hit hot springs and explore. And they're overlanders, and they're staying at the motel. So they told me about a B-24 plane crash that wasn't too far away. They didn't go explore it this year, but they said they hit it a couple years ago, and so that was kind of cool. And our first stop was another abandoned homestead that my friend told me about, and it was a 45-minute to an hour drive away. And then you had to park at a gate and walk in. And all I knew, my friend told me, was that it's a pink house, a pink rock house behind a large rock. That's all I know. You can't see from the highway. So we park and we had to walk about a half mile in, and we get around the corner, and there was just this really cool woven like corral. They used like sagebrush or juniper branches to build like the horizontal portions of the corral stuck between fence posts. That was pretty cool. And then what'd you see for the house when we got there?
I thought it was neat that it still had the old root cellars built in and all kinds of stuff, but they didn't have any power or plumbing in the whole house. It was all still very, very old.
Yeah, there was no infrastructure. You're right.
Nothing
No.
inside.
Yeah,
But it all had cement walls and wood trim. Like, it was pretty nice craftsmanship for not being in the era of any power or water, or retrofitted even.
yeah, pretty interesting. It had no bathtub even inside. It just had like 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a dining room downstairs, and then an attic space, which was probably another bedroom.
And most of it was built out of these big sandstone slabs, and like the window headers and framing around all the stuff had extra large and deep sandstone slabs, like huge, like you'd have a beam and it was stone.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the kind of building that went into creating this back then.
Yeah, giant large rocks, and was most likely built before automobiles, probably before automobiles were even thought of. So all hauled in by wagons and stuff like that. And so Jerry mentioned the root cellar behind this house. They had 2 root cellar looking things, and we surmised that one was probably for like a meat locker, and the other one was the vegetable storage.
Yeah, it had like old hooks in the ceiling, like where you could hang your meat from, and
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
and then it had what we think was a chicken house on the other back corner, and then a big, maybe I shouldn't say big barn, because it wasn't nearly as big as a barn, but it was a really large structure that we assume was used as a barn. And that one was really cool because it had the same kind of sandstone, but they were like windows. So it had a giant one on the top, and then 2 vertical ones, and then a horizontal one on the bottom. And they're like 14 inches or 16 inches deep of this rock, probably 4 inches thick, 14 inches deep, and 5 feet long.
Yeah, the kids even climbed in there and got pictures taken, like
Yeah.
laying down in them and stuff. It was
Yeah,
pretty neat.
they were huge window openings. I'll have to get some of these pictures in our show notes. But yeah, that was just a super cool cabin. And as we were there for maybe an hour exploring, and it was just a cool place tucked in a quiet portion of the hills. There was no wind down there, and it wasn't crazy. as we were leaving, we saw a spot where a bunch of rocks were in this gully that probably at one point dammed up the creek, but eventually it eroded around it. But it just neat to see kind of how they lived, and it'd be fun to know a little bit more of the history around it. But I can't find any details online about this place.
We did confirm with the locals back at dinner again that it was 1800s.
1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an old place. And that's right. They said that they used to, before there was a gate there, they would actually have a hunting camp there.
Yeah, it was open to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could just stay at this property. It's just on BLM land. Nobody owns the property anymore. So, yeah. So we went there. That was our first stop. Our second stop was going to be Bog Hot Springs again because it's local, and we stopped in between there for lunch at a rest stop. And the only reason why I mentioned this was because this rest stop is right on the highway, and there's no shelter, and the wind was pushing 5 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour, not very fast, but it was just bitter cold, and it was a stark difference from that homestead we were just at, where there was no wind in, and it's only 2 miles down the road from the same place. So those people really thought of land usage and where to live so that it was the best option for them, which was kind of cool.
True.
Yeah. So we get to Bog Hot Springs, built a fire again. We had to use up the rest of the wood, of course. So we built the fire, jumped in the water. I set up my CVT shower / poop / changing tent. So that was kind of nice because it wasn't dark out anymore. You can't just change in the dark. So everybody was able to change in their swim gear in that CVT tent that I won at the family event that they had.
That was a big hit. Everyone loved that.
Yeah. Even people who weren't part of our party asked if they could use it. People who were already there at the hot springs. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, had a good time in the hot springs. We were in the water. We were there for 3 hours in the water. That was fun. Me and the nephews and Jerry, we reconstructed a dam that was in there, and then we took some of the materials from that dam and dammed up a spot lower in the creek so we could raise the main area. And we got it, I want to say we got it like 5 inches deeper than what it was when we were first there for that main section, which was kind of fun. It was already kind of deep, but now it was just 5 more inches deeper by the little bit of dam work that we did. So, and there were some people in the hot springs while we were there. They were there before us, and they were driving.
Oh yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were driving a 1st gen 4-door Tacoma and a 4th gen 4Runner.
Nice,
And
good choice.
they were modified. They were modified a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I went for a ride.
Yeah, so Jerry got to go for a ride in one of them. These guys were Baha'd out, so they were from Reno, and down in Reno you desert race. That's one of the things you do. In fact, actually, they told us that they drove almost the entire way to Bog Hot Springs off road from Reno, which is super cool.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and they did it. I think they said they did it in 4 hours via the highway. If you drove from Reno to Bog Hot Springs, it's 4 hours via the highway. So they did it off road in 4 hours in these Baja trucks. They had the fiberglass fenders on them, front and rear on the Tacoma. He had the big old tire carrier hanging out the back of the Tacoma. He said he had a 43 gallon fuel cell in the Tacoma, and then he carried extra fuel for the guy in the 4Runner. I can't remember which. I think the Tacoma guy had the supercharger, the 4Runner had the V8, and they both claim that they get around 8 miles a gallon when they're pinning it. So it's terrible. It made me feel good about my 12.
Right.
So yeah, so Jerry was chatting it up with them, and because they're 4Runner guys.
Yeah, we're 4Runners guys now.
Yeah, 4Runner guys talking 4Runners, and the guy's like, well, you got to go for a ride. Yours is all stock. You got to feel the suspension. What kind of suspension they have?
Yeah, the Total Chaos kit, the long travel kit.
Oh,
yeah, Ben, you know what we're talking about here.
I've looked at the Total Chaos kit.
All I can say is when he took me for a ride in it, imagine yourself in an RC truck that a 16-year-old's driving with no cause for life. Like I felt like I was live in an RC truck just cruising across the gravel, and he was driving over sagebrush, everything, and it felt smooth.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have properly tuned suspension.
Oh my
And
goodness, it was amazing.
Total Chaos is they totally control that chaos with some nice suspension.
They said they're friends with the owner. I think they said her name was Nicole.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So I think we should reach out to Total Chaos and have them on the show for a fun interview. It sounds like she's a real down to earth person. So it'd be fun. Do you remember what he said his suspension cost?
He said 15,000 for the true long travel kit. There's a mid range kit for the Forerunners. He said like 4,500. And he's like, for the average person, that would suffice. They're not driving as much as he is.
Yeah.
But interesting, he didn't modify anything on his vehicle much other than that suspension kit and then the larger tires.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was at 36s or
I didn't hear.
I think he had
probably.
I think he had 36s on it.
And they had aftermarket fenders, right? Fender flares.
He did have to cut out the fenders and put the plastic
on. On the front. He didn't have anything going on in the rear of the Forerunner.
Well, they don't make rear ones for the Forerunners. So it's just the front.
No, I know that they don't, but I mean, I was just saying he didn't modify anything in the rear at all.
Oh, I gotcha.
As far as you could tell. So, yeah. And he was more than excited to give people rides. So Jerry came back just the biggest grin on your face. Like he's just ear to ear smiling. And he talked my sister, his wife, into going on a trip because he's like, yeah, we're going to get her sold on this suspension, right?
She's not into it.
No, she's not. Did she come back with a smile on her face?
She came by. I think he was probably close to 30 miles an hour when he whipped back into the parking lot. And I could just see her face, and she's just mouthing to me, nope, 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 nope. And the whole deal was he said he wouldn't spill her drink. And so she got in with the cup, and he's like, the suspension's so good, you won't spill your drink. And I guess some popped out and got on her shirt. And she's like, nope, he spilled my drink. We're not doing it. That stuff's not that good. I don't want to go that fast.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out because that's really her car, but it felt so good. Like
felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it begins, folks. So
That's
hopefully she's not listening to
this. And then you become like me. Do an
I heard some of your early talk.
Yep. Oh, hopefully it doesn't become like Ben.
Wow, yeah.
No one wants to be like me.
That's when you try to do it on a budget.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah, so that was a good time. Those were good people. Had a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, we were in the water for a long time, and it was a lot of fun, but the rock that we were moving to build the dam like cut me up. I just counted before the podcast started, but I've got like 13 cuts on my hands and fingers alone. It doesn't include the ones on my knees. I ripped the back of my shorts. So good thing my shorts had a liner. So you didn't get to see any skin out of there, but yeah, my swim trunk got ripped. We went back to Denio again that night, had dinner for the third time at Denio Junction, and talked with them even more. The husband owner opened up to me a little bit more that night because he was in the military in transportation. And so I told him I owned an LMTV. So we chatted back and forth about that. And he hazed my wife a little bit, wondering why in the world she wouldn't want an LMTV. So
did she let him know why?
Oh,
did she let him know why?
Yeah. So last day was the drive home day. We did have one for sure planned stop besides food and fuel, and that was to hit a place called the Pete French Round Barn. And this is a place I learned about when I was in elementary school growing up in Oregon. Something about the ergonomics of a round barn or something. I had no idea. All I knew was there's this round barn out in the middle of nowhere, and I need to go check it out. So it was just north of French Glen. If you know where French Glen is in Oregon, turn off the road, head out to this round barn. It was crazy. We left Nevada, northern Nevada. It was like 26 degrees outside. We get to this round barn 2 hours later, and it's 17 degrees outside again. 17 seemed to be a popular temperature for our trip.
Cold.
Yeah, everything was frozen, and it was cool because like there's like fog in the air in some parts of our drive, and the fog would condensate on the barbed wire fencing, and then you've got this frozen crystal, white crystal on the barbed wire fencing. It was really neat. But we got to the round barn, and it was a little bit educational. They had a super cool gift shop full of tons of stuff. We bought some books for our kids and stuff. And they told us that there was a barn owl. Not, I'm sorry, not a barn owl. A great horned owl, I think is what it's called, in the round barn. And so, sure enough, we go inside, and there was an owl, and it was the body of it, not including the tail, was probably 2.5 feet tall. Just this massive owl up in the rafters up there. It was really neat, just hanging out up there. And beyond that, we hit Boomers for lunch again. It didn't work out as well because Oregon is in lockdown, and so you can only do takeout food in Oregon right now. So we had to do takeout from Boomers, but another excellent lunch. My wife is super impressed with it. We got to go back. Their telephone answering guy sucked. He's not the normal guy I've talked to. He's not the owner.
It's not the owner that like convinces you. No, yeah, get more, buy more.
Yeah,
Not that guy.
it wasn't him. This guy, maybe he was just someone helping out for the day or something, but he just didn't seem like he knew what he was doing, and it was kind of a bummer. But anyways, the food was great. I still encourage people to go check out Boomers if you're going through Heinz. You'll enjoy it. Once again, we saw wild horses and donkeys. Actually saw antelope this time, something that we didn't see much of when Ben was on the trip with me. I don't think we saw much antelope.
We saw
then.
like one or two of them.
Yeah, this time we saw quite a bit of antelope.
I'd say hundreds.
Yeah,
Oh wow!
and deer, quite a bit of deer. A couple good sized bucks that I would have loved to shot and brought back to my property and put in a freezer. Some birds of prey. I saw some falcons and hawks. When we were leaving, our last day when we were leaving the motel, we were packing up, and you could hear, and it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a pack of coyotes behind the hotel just yipping away, kind of crazy. So, yeah. Did you have a favorite part or anything that maybe we didn't cover? Or
But really, the Total Chaos ride was really cool.
yeah,
That was awesome. The hot springs all the time was great. And then I think just being out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I have not seen that much wildlife on a ride that was not that far off road. I mean, we were on gravel roads and all kinds of stuff, but for the most part, those were pretty main roads. Your minivan was on them. So,
yeah,
not a big deal. But to be able to see that much wildlife, we saw a full pheasant, some chukar. I mean, just really cool stuff for something that I didn't expect to see all that. So
Yeah.
that was really cool.
I kind of pick up on the wildlife aspect as we were going along. That you were pretty excited every time we saw some stuff. It was like getting your blood pumping.
Well, and my wife and I talked about this. I don't know. You guys seem to go to that area of Oregon often. This has been on our list to start exploring that section. We've been a lot of other places, but there's something really freeing about that desert. Like, I don't know. I'm not spiritually, but it's like it's just freeing. Like you're out there in nowhere with the stars and the hot springs, and there was hardly anybody on the roads passing by us, and it just felt like I don't know how to describe the feeling other than just free.
Yeah.
Like, it was really cool.
Yeah,
Neat area to go see.
You definitely feel a lot more free when there's less people around. Like that's
Yeah.
why I go up in the mountains and go camping. It's like I know there's not going to be someone 20 feet away from me,
Yeah.
and most of the time, every now and then, like for some reason, some other guy's there. It's like, what the hell are you doing up here too? Go away.
Right. And I don't know if it's the desert that you can see so much further that there's no one. Like in the mountains, you can't see maybe 100 yards around the corner, but this was just like it felt vast freedom.
very vast. Yeah. So in the hot springs, talking to Toyota guys, they talked about Baja a bunch.
Yeah.
And I was asking you, what do you think for another trip that we should go on? And you suggested going down to Baja.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
We looked at some of the travel since then, and it's going to require quite a few days, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be an amazing trip.
Yeah. They talked about they would go down always. They'd be going down every year for the Baja 1000. They said they didn't go last year. no, they did go last year, but the race got pushed out a week because of the rain. They didn't go this year because of the COVID. So, yeah. So yeah, maybe we got a Baja trip in our future. I'm gonna try to include Jerry in as much stuff as you think you can come on going out there. Yeah, I'll always invite you. It's a good time. Oh, one other thing you mentioned, I think it was the very first night, either the first night or the second night in the hot springs. I think it was the second night in the hot springs. I wasn't in the hot springs. I was sitting on that little dam, and you said something about you were going to ask Erica why I like coming out here so often.
Yeah.
Can you say that part?
Well, I guess the question we always had for Aaron, like you hear about these road trips you guys take and go off into nowhere land and just kind of drive around and do a trip. And I was always like, well, what's special about, why do you keep going to this Nevada area or this area over in Oregon? And what's the big deal? And what do you do? Because I come from more like if you're wheeling or hunting or fishing, like you're going out with something you're doing versus just touring an area. So I didn't quite understand it. And so the goal was to get Aaron, when we could hang out around a fire or something, to explain why this was so important to him, because we saw it's like something he does all the time and really enjoys and feels invigorated when he comes back. And we're in the hot springs, and I was like, but by the second day, Aaron, I can't really ask that question because I feel like I figured it out. Like it's that vast openness, that freeness, that traveling. I mean, and you don't have to destroy your vehicles. You're just seeing lots of cool land and lots of cool scenery without just wheeling hard. But I couldn't understand it unless you're like not fishing or hunting, or there had to be a purpose from when I travel, And so this was kind of cool to just see what Aaron's about, what this kind of podcast world's about, and the overland idea, like opened my eyes to stuff that I didn't have to have like all these other things going on. I could just go out and see and explore and see the landmarks. The homesteads were really cool. I mean, every time he sees something like that, crack on the ground, a crash plane, or different trips you've been on, and it was cool. It was neat to see a side of Aaron like that, and certainly understood it without it needing to be explained.
Yeah.
So
that made me feel really good when you said that it all came together and you didn't have to ask that question.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun for me.
Once you do it, it kind of opens your eyes to, it's more about the adventure and about the journey and the drive, and not so much about where.
And that's what we called it, our Thanksgiving adventure, at least on our family in the car. We played some C.W. McCall, Convoy, followed Aaron around, talked about the adventure of Thanksgiving, and that was cool. It was really cool. I was glad to be included on it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, we just wanted to thank everybody who listens to this show weekly, and we also want to thank the people who joined us on YouTube. And I mean, there's been people the whole time through the show, so we really appreciate you guys joining us. You guys are really the reason that we do this show. Without you, the show wouldn't exist because we wouldn't have a reason to do it. We like to talk to each other, but heck, it's a lot of work every single week, and you really have to take time out of it. So that's the whole reason why we do it, is to share our experiences and our stories with you guys. Please share us with your friends. That's the best way to help us grow here at the Off-Road Podcast. Every time that you tell somebody else about the show and get them hooked, that really helps. And I guess there's a new one in here. God bless America.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly why you threw that in there on this one, but hey, it's definitely true.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
Now I'm just going to, if you guys leave me, it's just going to be me talking by myself, and you guys don't want